You can look up, yeah, just I001. And what they did was they made this video, or basically it was a video. I mean, they didn't have video then, so they made it somewhat differently. But they made this video when they took like a triangle and a square and a circle, and they had this box, and they just moved these around relatively randomly, and then they had participants in the study describe what they saw. And the people, when they would watch this, they tended to sort of animate what they saw, right? They'd say like, oh, the square has like a crush on the circle, but then the triangle, and the triangle is mean to them and is bullying them, so then they go in the house in order to get away from them, and then they live happily ever after, or something like that. And actually, if you watch it, I think you'll be like, wow, that actually looks like what I'm watching, you know? And so, what does this point to? What is this point to? Why is it that when we look at even just a series of boxes and triangles and squares moving around relatively randomly, we tend to create this kind of narrative, this story, and impute human emotions to these clearly inanimate objects? Well, it's because we have this strong tendency to anthropomorphize, right? We tend to see the world, see movement in the world in fundamentally social, humanistic terms, okay? Even when we see little things move around, we impute all these human emotions and consciousness. Have you seen March of the Penguins? Have you seen March of the Penguins? And if you haven't, why the hell not? Because March of the Penguins is awesome. But one thing that you'll find is they can't help but anthropomorphize these penguins, right? All the way through it. These penguins are, they say they have all these emotions and stuff, and the narrator just can't help it. Penguins, as wonderful as they are, they don't have emotions like that, you know? They don't have higher consciousness. But we look at penguins doing cute things, and we can't help but think they do. This goes back to an old idea called the pathetic fallacy, which is that we tend to attribute consciousness to even inanimate objects. Essentially, that's the same as anthropomorphizing. And one reason that people think that we have this kind of basic tendency to view objects that way is because it might have been an evolutionarily fit thing. It might have been as we were evolving, or as proto-humans or some kind of primates before us were evolving, they developed a very careful sense to see in their world when motion and movement is being created by animate versus inanimate objects. And they've done experiments on this property called biological motion, where they'll put you in a dark room and they'll either have like a machine wave a series of lights around, or they'll have like a human arm wave it, and people are like almost perfect at this test. They can always see when motion is created by an animate object. So, and you can imagine if you're in the jungle and you're trying to survive and you're on the edge of survival, this would be extremely useful, right? To be able to have this like quick sense that motion in your sphere of vision, in your field of vision, is created by something that's alive. Maybe it could kill you, maybe it would be tasty to eat, whatever, or something that's not alive. It's just the wind or something like that. So that's one reason evolutionary psychologists think we have this kind of strong tendency to anthropomorphize, is we're trying to be very careful and on the lookout for other organisms. But Heidegger goes in a completely different direction from that with this idea. What he says is, when we look at these boxes, when we look at these triangles and these circles, we make these attributions, or when we look at people in our everyday life and we make attributions about why they're doing the things that they're doing, we're doing it because we're basically mini psychologists. We're all mini social psychologists. And we're trying to determine the causes of other people's behaviors around us all the time. We're obsessed with it. And in a lot of ways, that's why I find this field of study really interesting. Because I felt like when I came to social psychology, I had kind of the flip of the experience. Like Heidegger's insight is, lay people are doing psychology all the time. And my insight when I went to take social psychology classes, they're talking about what I'm already thinking about all the time. You know, why are people doing the things they're doing? That's something I can never get out of my head. It's something I was fascinated with. But what Heidegger's saying is we're all like that. We're all mini psychologists, trying to figure out why people are doing the things they're doing around us, trying to make the world more predictable and understandable. And that's the reason social psychology is awesome to study, but it's also the backbone idea of this lecture. So, in the literature on attribution that came after Heidegger, Heidegger said, you're looking around all the time trying to make attributions, trying to understand the causes of people's behavior around you in everyday life. So in the literature that comes after this, they found two main types of attribution that they kind of categorize. And one is dispositional, and the other is situational. Dispositional attributions are when you, as an observer, or anybody else, attributes another person's behavior to internal states. And what does that mean, internal states? Personality, their character, their thinking, whatever. This is when you look at some behavior and you say, that person did that because they're like this, or they were feeling this, or they were thinking this, whatever. And in Heidegger and Zimmel's simulation, that's what people are doing, right? Even with squares and circles and triangles, they're going, oh, the square moved there because it's in love with the circle, and the triangle went there, the triangle's really freaking mean, etc. So what are the other kinds of attributions? Well, there's probably a lot of different kinds of attributions, but in social psychology, we talk about two main types, the dispositional, which I just explained, and then situational. This is the other main way you can make an attribution of somebody's behavior. And situational attributions are when an observer attributes another person's behavior to their environment, or their situation, or their context. And so for example, people don't do this in the Heidegger and Zimmel simulation, right? They don't say that the square is moving there because of the context, because forces are pushing the square there outside of the square. We don't do that, right? We look at the square, we see the square, and we say the square must be making its own movement. But if you're a sociology major, or you take a lot of social science classes, you know that context, social structure, the environment, the situation really matters, right? And it's not just the case that the reason that you go and do things and your behaviors, the real causes of your behavior are not just inside your head, they're also outside your head, in the situations you find yourself in. And we'll talk about that some more. So, any questions? That's all I have. Okay. So there's this tendency for people to link behaviors and events to stable factors because we want to understand the world, and it doesn't do us any good to understand the world just without guiding principles. We want to understand the world for the future, for projecting the future, for seeing the future, and making the future more understandable and less confusing. So we tend to link behaviors and events to stable factors, and that allows for simplicity, basic prediction, and us to navigate our world. So imagine how difficult it would be for you to get through a day if you didn't have this ability, right? You wouldn't know whether to touch the stove when it's burning, or when the fire's on, because even though in the past you burned yourself, it wasn't ever that stove at that level of temperature when you're cooking that thing. If you didn't have the ability to generalize and develop general principles about how the world works and how causation works in the world, you wouldn't be able to get through a day without burning yourself, getting hit by a bus, saying really stupid things to your girlfriend, and so on. But because we can develop these kind of general principles for forecasting and seeing the future in the world, because we can make attributions of causality, we can navigate our world reasonably well. But one thing that this leads to, because we're looking for stable, predictable factors, we tend to underestimate situational influences and attach too much significance to dispositional factors. So, and this is going to be one of the ideas in the class, we tend to make too many dispositional attributions and not enough situational ones. Why do we do that? Because the square is always a square, right? If you can understand the square's movement in terms of the square's wishes, or if you can understand your best friend's actions or words in terms of his or her thoughts and behavior and personality, then you can kind of say, what's your best friend going to do tomorrow? Or what's the square going to do in the next 10 seconds of the simulation? But if instead it's all capricious and guided by just the details of the situation and the context, then it makes the world much less predictable. And we don't like that. We want a predictable world we can understand. Okay, so let's talk about the research on attributions, and then we'll go back to the general ideas. Because if I talk too much about general ideas, then I lose track of what the hell's going on. Okay. So the first research I want to talk about on attributions is the following. Jones and Harris, 1967. This is a classic paper. And by the way, if you find this interesting, or if you find these social psychologists interesting, you might go online and look up Daniel Gilbert's essay on Ned Jones. I put in the optional readings online. It's a cool little article about what Ned Jones was really like. It sounds like he was pretty nutty. So, okay, Jones and Harris, 1967. What's the purpose of this study? Okay, well, in this study, I have no idea what that keeps happening. In this study, participants were given either an anti or pro-Castro essay. So this is 1967. People are fascinated with Fidel Castro. You guys maybe have heard of this guy. I'm just kidding. Cuban Missile Crisis, 1961. Fidel Castro was this big boogeyman in America, and some leftists were sort of sympathetic to Castro. Many people were sort of scared of Castro and what he meant because it was a communist country, really close to Florida, and so on and so on. So Castro is this very controversial figure in the United States in the 1960s. And they were interested in doing a study. So they did a study where they gave subjects in the study, brought them into the lab, college undergraduates, much like yourself, brought them into the lab and gave them an anti-Castro essay or a pro-Castro essay that they were told was written by some other undergraduate. And they were told that the person was assigned the anti-Castro essay prompt and was told you have to do an anti-Castro essay or else we won't pay you to do the study. And they were told the same with the pro-Castro essay. So the people who were given a pro-Castro essay were told this person was told to write this essay. They were randomly assigned this topic, had nothing to do with what their real opinions were. So then they were asked to identify what the writer's attitude was. They said, okay, so read this essay the person wrote and you tell us what does this person think about Fidel Castro. So what they found was that when the essay was clearly, even when the essay was clearly assigned, the person had no choice over what topic they were going to write on, people tended to make correspondent attributions. In other words, they tended to make attributions that the person's attitude corresponded to the essay they wrote, that their attitude was correspondent to their behavior. And that's what we mean when we talk about correspondent attributions. We're saying that you're making an attribution that the person's attitude is in line with their behavior. So in this study, people, you're sitting there, you're reading this essay, somebody wrote a pro-Castro essay, you make a correspondent attribution, this person must support Castro. Even though you were told the person was randomly assigned that essay prompt and had to write it. It doesn't make any sense, right? It doesn't make any sense to make this conclusion, but people did. Does this make sense? Well, it doesn't make sense, I never said that, but you understand what I'm talking about. Okay. And this is one of many studies in the history of social psychology where the researchers kind of stumbled on this principle of human nature by accident. What they were trying to do was show the opposite was the case. That when people had the choice of what essay they were going to write, then people would say, oh, you must support Castro or not support Castro. And when they were assigned the essay prompt, the people would say, oh, there's no difference. I don't know what they think of Castro. They had to write this essay. But what they found instead was that people make these correspondent attributions. That people infer the causes of others' behaviors in a much simpler and less sophisticated way than the researchers had anticipated. And this is one of the great sort of stumbling on the truth moments in social psychology. Because this experiment tells us a lot about our tendency to make dispositional attributions when we should make situational ones. What would be the right conclusion to come to in this situation if you're a subject in the study? If you want to get it right, the right thing would be to say, I have no idea what this person's attitude is towards Castro because they were assigned this. The situation made this essay, not the person. But what did they do instead? They assumed that the disposition did, that they wrote the essay because of their attitude towards Castro. Question. How do you control for the actual essay? They didn't actually have people write the essays. They wrote the essays themselves and then lied to the subjects in the study. There weren't really other people that wrote the essays. So they were like, oh, no, there weren't really other people. They wrote these essays and then told subjects this person had a choice or didn't have a choice to write this essay. When they're told the person didn't have a choice, you shouldn't assume anything about their attitude towards Castro. But instead, they assumed that the person who wrote the pro-Castro essay supported Castro significantly more than the person who wrote the anti-Castro essay. Okay, other questions? Yes? Oh, the subjects in the study probably had an opinion about Castro as well? What's that, sir? Oh, yeah, I don't know what their attitude was towards Castro. That's a good question. Jones and Harris, I have no clue. I don't know. But I think they set up the study so that it could be anything, right? Could be pro-life versus pro-choice attitudes towards abortion. Could be different attitudes on nuclear disarmament, different views towards China. It could be anything. And the point is, if you're assigned the essay, or here's the point, actually, it's that if you're a subject in the study and you're told that the essay assignment was thrust upon the person, you shouldn't make any assumptions about what they really think. Okay. So here's another study on attributions. I like this one better. So this was conducted by Lee Ross et al., who were social psychologists at Stanford University. Yes, I apologize for bringing it up. Boo, 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 boo. By the way, I do ask that every time I say Stanford that you boo and hiss, and I'm actually not joking about that. Yeah. Okay, good. Well, this time's fine, but the next time, let's make it count. Okay, so Lee Ross and colleagues, they did a study where they were also interested in situations where you ought to be making situational attributions, but people tend to make dispositional attributions because they overdo it with the dispositional attributions thing. So in this study, what they did was they had participants in the study be randomly assigned to be a questioner or an answerer or an observer in this sort of quiz game study. So back in these days, back in the 70s, these quiz games on TV were, I was going to say more popular than now, but I guess they've just been really, really popular all the way through, going back to the 50s and stuff. Y'all ever seen the movie Quiz Show? That's a kick-ass movie you ought to see, in my opinion. Okay, that's irrelevant. So they assign people, everybody's sort of familiar with how these quiz games work. So they bring people in the lab and they're like, we're going to run a quiz show, game show thing, and you've been randomly assigned to be the questioner, or you've been randomly assigned to be the observer, or you've been randomly assigned to be the answerer. And the people who are assigned to the questioner, they're told, make 10 questions to ask the answerer, and make them difficult but not impossible to answer. So people would ask stuff like capitals of countries, or like a little bit obscure, but they happen to know the answer, but they didn't know like all the capitals in that continent, for example. So like tough questions, or questions about sports or something like that. They're tough, not quite impossible. And then they ask these questions to the answerer while the observers watched. And the answerers tended to get like 4 out of 10 right these questions on average, because the questioners, they made it pretty tough. The questioners actually, when Lee Ross talks about this research, he said the questioners kind of threw themselves into it. They sort of enjoyed making these difficult questions that made the answer look really dumb. So what they found was that then they asked the people who's smarter in this situation, the questioner or the observer, like who has better trivia knowledge. Now, what kind of conclusion should you come to in that situation? Like what's the logical conclusion? Yes. Who knows? Exactly. We don't know. They were randomly assigned to positions. Randomly. The person who was assigned to the answer, the coin could have flipped the other way. They would have been assigned to be the questioner, and they would have looked really smarty pants. Okay? The person who's randomly assigned to the questioner, they could have been the answer, and they would have looked really stupid. That's just how it works. But that wasn't the way people made attributions. Probably most interesting in this situation is what did the observers think, right? Because we're interested in how do people who are observers observing other people's behaviors, how do they make attributions in everyday life? Well, the observers tended to say, oh, the questioner is really smart. My God, that guy knew all this stuff about the world, and the answer only knew 4 of those 10 things. Clearly, the questioner is smarter than the answer. And they were there when the coin was flipped in the air. They know that they should know that there's no difference, but they don't. They don't figure that out. A little bit more complicated is the attitudes of the questioner and the answerer. So, which I almost hesitated to even put up here. So the answerers also tended to think that they were dumber or less knowledgeable than the questioner, which is kind of weird because they kind of have a motivated reasoning not to come to this conclusion, right? If motivated reasoning is right, they should not come to this conclusion that they're dumber than the questioner, but they did. And then surprisingly, the questioners did not come to that conclusion. I guess the questioners were sort of like, well, I made those questions really freaking hard. I bet the answer could have done the same to me. So they came to the more reasonable conclusion. But the point of the study is the observers didn't. The observers decided that the questioner was smarter than the answerer, even though they saw the random assignment happen. Question. Yes. Were the answers and observers aware of the instructions of the questioner guides? Good question. Good question. Yes, they were. Everyone knew the same instructions. Instructions were done in front of everybody. Excellent question. So everybody had common knowledge in this situation. They should have been able to figure it out, but they didn't. By the way, this happens all the time, Alex Trebek. I don't know if you all like to watch Jeopardy. I love watching Jeopardy. I tried it out once. I didn't make the cut. Oh well. You can try it out now, I think, online, by the way. I got past the first round, and then I went to New York and found I became very humble very quickly. Alex Trebek, people do this all the time, right? People think that he's like the stereotypical smart guy on television, right? Why the hell would you think that? Why would you think that? Why is he the stereotypical smart guy on TV? He has all the answers. He doesn't even write the questions. They give him the answers. It's ridiculous. But without fail, people worship this guy as some kind of paragon of intelligence and academic knowledge and stuff. It doesn't make any sense. He has all the answers. He doesn't even write the questions. They're handed to him. I'm not saying Alex Trebek is dumb. I'm not saying that, because he's not dumb, probably. I don't know, but that's the thing. I have no idea how smart this guy is. And another thing I'll say about Alex, if you're going to download this webcast and you're watching this, he can be very rude to people on the show. He can, right? He's super rude. It's ridiculous. Watch the show carefully, and he'll totally correct people. He'll be like, no, that's not how you pronounce Kilimanjaro, And he'll do that with these little bits in it, and you're like, man, you didn't even write that question. They handed it to you with phonetic pronunciation. But anyway, so I'm a big fan of the Will Ferrell spoof because I think it's very, very fair. Okay, so biases and attribution. And this is, I think, the best idea yet in the class. Yes, I'll say that like over and over and over. But I really think this is the best idea yet in the class, is the fundamental attribution error. And fundamental attribution error is the strong tendency, I've already been basically saying what it was, the strong tendency to overestimate dispositional factors and underestimate situational factors when you make attributions about others' behaviors. That's a long sentence, but it's pretty simple, okay? It's a tendency too much to say this person caused their behavior, not the situation they found themselves in, okay? So we tend to attribute other people's behaviors to their personalities, to their character, some kind of stable, enduring traits of that person that made them do what they did, and we don't attribute to the context of their behavior. So what are some examples of this? Well, the examples are the ones I basically just gave you, the 67 and 77 studies. People ignore that a pro or anti-position on Castro was assigned to the writer of the essay, right? They ignore the situational information, even though the situational information entirely determined the content of the essay. The person had no choice what essay they were supposed to have written. And instead, they tend to make dispositional attributions and say because they wrote this, because of how they feel about Castro. So they ignore the right answer and go with the wrong answer because of the power of the fundamental attribution error. Another example is the quizmaster answerer role assignment. People assume the quizmaster is really smart because he knows all 10 questions, right? And they assume the answer isn't so smart because he or she only knew 4 of them. Does this make sense? No. They should know the person randomly assigned one position or another, but they forget about that. They lose the situational information, focus too much on the person's disposition. Okay. A related idea to the fundamental attribution error is the correspondence bias, which is basically just the tendency to do dispositional attributions. It's not an error per se. Well, no, it is an error. Okay, so the correspondence bias is an incredibly related concept with a slightly different definition. I'm only giving it to you, not to confuse you, because they're really similar ideas, but to be thorough. Because people talk in social psychology all the time about both these things, and if I'm teaching an upper-level social psych class, you should get this. So the correspondence bias is the tendency to assume a correspondence between people's behaviors and underlying attitudes. So the correspondence bias is part of the fundamental attribution error, because this is an example of the correspondence bias, and so is this, right? In both cases, it's a correspondence bias. But the fundamental attribution error goes a step further and says we tend to do the correspondence bias even in situations where we ought to take account of the situation. Okay? So the correspondence bias is the tendency to make dispositional attributions. The fundamental attribution error is the tendency to make dispositional attributions even when you ought to make situational ones. Sorry. Right. All of this applies to the perception of the self so far. What I said. The perception of other people, not the perception of the self so far. We're about to talk about how you make self-attributions in a second. So, good question. Yes, question. Yes, all this is as an observer. That's why I was kind of like, don't pay that much attention to the question or the answer. Here, for that, for the Ross et al. 77 study, we're focused on the observers. Because we're still thinking about how you, as a mini social psychologist, how you make sense of the world and make attributions, and what the kind of rules of the game are for that. Okay, so let's take a 2-minute break, and we'll come back. We don't go anywhere. So we'll take a 2-minute break, and then we'll continue the lecture.